It's the most wonderful time of the year. Ooh, semifinals, week 16, answers my guess. Listen, I'm getting in here now. No warning, no heads up. Getting it in when I can get it in because it's Christmas time and we're busy. So, this is what we got. We got week 16, answers by guess, inside scoop from outside the box. If you're here, say hello. If it's your first time, please subscribe if you're on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook. Join the group, like the video, laugh the video, do whatever the heck you want. Give us something to beat the algorithm. Let's get into this. So the Thursday night game of the year, it was 30-14 in the third quarter, fourth quarter. Actually, I think 4 minutes had gone by or so. I almost turned it off and just turned over and went to sleep. And I was like, I'm just going to watch. I had a feeling something was coming. And turned out to be amazing. I found myself rooting for Sam Darnold for the first time in my life. I was rooting for the Seahawks, and I despise the Seahawks. The Giants and the Seahawks, two teams that I don't really like. What's up, Josue? I was happy with the outcome. I had talked a lot of people off of Colby Parkinson in the Facebook group. I was like, I don't know. Rob was one of them. If it's your first time to the show, Rob is my longtime co-host. We've been doing it 9 years. This is our 9th year, and he's usually here with me. And he wanted to play Colby, and I was like, I got a feeling Ferguson's going to score. Last week, not that last game Thursday, but week 15, Ferguson should have had 3 touchdowns. The 2 that Parkinson scored, he actually looked for Ferguson first and Stafford, and overthrew him, underthrew him, way overshot him. I don't know why. It's a first read. Darko, somebody that's been with us for a few years now, answers my guess. Same sort of thing. He's like, what about Parkinson? He's behind. It's like, yeah, the past 4 or 5 weeks, he's a top 5 tight end, but I've seen this one before. Everybody in the world was on him. So hopefully you steered clear of him. And if you played JSN, I had him in 1 league. I was going against him in 1 league, still alive in 3 leagues. It stunk until close to the end, but he came through. And that was just a great game. I said pretty much play the guys you normally been playing, and the guys you normally been playing had been fine. So that was a win. Let's get on to the first game that's going to be happening today. Eagles, Commanders. I like McLaurin. They're at home. Mariota's fine. Rodriguez will be back. You probably have to be in a certain position to have to be using him. I only even considering it in 1 league where I'm just only alive in the consolation bracket. And the consolation bracket matters in this one. We'll talk about that in a second because if you win the consolation bracket, then you get to choose your draft position the following year. Everybody else is random. So somebody had asked a question in the Facebook group, I think it was Frank, if, teams are eliminated, and it's a loosely used term, eliminated. If teams are eliminated from the championship bracket, like you're not playing for the championship, should you be allowed to make moves? And my answer and a few other people's answer was yes, because if you have a matchup, you should be able to make moves to win that matchup. And somebody brought up, and it's the truth, whether it's for pride, bragging rights, maybe not to be in the toilet bowl or whatever it is, maybe not to be last place, and all those things are valid. in my opinion. What you need to do is have a commissioner, such as I do, make the consolation bracket mean something. And in my opinion, and your opinion can be different. I mean, like, it is 2025, and opinions on the internet, it's, you know how it is politically. You can't have an opinion unless you agree with my opinion. But listen, everybody's got an opinion. Consolation bracket, if you're playing to win your matchup, you should be able to have moves, in my opinion. Once you're eliminated, which means you don't have a matchup anymore, that's when I'm okay with locking teams. If you're just somebody who's not even playing in a matchup, whether the matchup is meaningless or not, as long as you have a matchup, you should be able to make moves. And my opinion is, if you are playing in the championship bracket and somebody else is playing a matchup in the consolation bracket and you have a problem with them making moves, that's your problem, right? It's the same thing it's been all year. That's like saying somebody that's in last place in the league, if it's a 12-team league, 14-team league, 10-team league, and they're a one-win team, should they not be able to make moves that final week of the season? In a sense, they are essentially eliminated. Do your due diligence. Put in your waiver wire moves just like you normally would do. What's up, Doormat? I'll get to the questions in just a minute. For the Eagles, play the wide receivers against the Commanders, and of course, you got to play Saquon. Can't play Tank. We know that. Goddard, you're probably in a position getting in where you need to use them too. My Packers playing against the Bears, going to try and get through these as quickly as possible. Get to these questions. Like I said, it's Christmas time. We're busy. Wife's upstairs making cookies with the kids. You might hear some chaos in the background. So pardon that if you do, but if you don't really mind it, it makes sense because it's Christmas and that's what happens. Kids get loud. So Packers, Bears. The Michael Parsons injury, in my mind, is huge. They were up by, I believe, 10 points against the Broncos, and Parsons went down, and the Broncos scored touchdowns on 3 straight possessions. While statistically he was not having a huge season, and he really hasn't had a huge season since his first season statistically. But what he does is he makes everybody else on the defense better because he's so good at rushing the quarterback, because he's so good at getting in there and disrupting. It's making it easier for the other players. I mean, it's a domino effect. We know how the game is played. If the defensive line is putting pressure, that helps the secondary, that helps the linebackers as well. And once he went out and the pressure sort of died down on the quarterback, Bo Nix was able to do some things, and he was chucking balls and they were scoring touchdowns, and RJ Harvey got one as well. So I'm a bit nervous going into Chicago. Now, the only thing that gives me a little bit of upside or happiness or optimism is the correct term, is there's no Luther Burden, no Rome Odunze. So DJ Moore's just fine. Olamide Zaccheaus, Caleb loves him. And it wasn't until Luther Burden got his pro feet underneath him that he sort of overtook him. But if you remember early on in the season, that number 3 was Zaccheaus, and he was he started to vulture from Rome because Rome was really hot the first 2, 3, 4 weeks. He was vulturing from DJ Moore, and DJ Moore was hurt. He was playing. So Zaccheaus is somebody for DFS if you're playing a 2-game slate today or something. He's somebody you'll be able to get cheap. He'll probably catch a ton of balls. Loveland's been doing just fine. And because of what I said with Parsons, I think both running backs will be just fine. I do see a question down on the board about this. So we'll throw that up here real quick. And I'm not skipping over you because I don't like you, Josue. You know I love you. But he's asking Devontae Smith or Monangai. Well, I kind of feel like the Eagles defense, I mentioned on the show last week, I really liked them. And, it was tough with the Chargers, but I had a good feeling about them last week. I feel like they sort of started to come together, but now we got another road game this time, all the way back on the East Coast. So they flew back. They've been there all week. It's close to home. You're going against the Commanders. It's scary. Terry. We'll see if Ben Sinnott does some things. The running back situation is the running back situation. But I do think the Commanders will be able to move the ball a little bit. So as far as Devontae Smith is concerned, will he be involved throughout? Because it's in Washington, I say yes. Division game, you sort of throw everything out the window. So I do like Devontae today. The Packers rush defense, again, without Parsons being there, their rush defense was incredible with him there. And just because he was elevating everybody else, and they do take a step back, but I think Swift is somebody who's going to benefit just a little bit more, because it's always those shifty type of running backs before Parsons got there. And I'm talking 10 years plus. It's been this way. As a Green Bay fan, I know it. I see it. Kind of like Swift a little bit more. I do like Monangai. I think if you are full point PPR, not that it'll matter too much, but I do see 4 or 5 grabs today for Devontae. I would go with Devontae. So that's going to be my call. Even half point PPR, go with Devontae. Splash play, big play. That's his game. I see it. I know Monangai's the goal line guy, but I do trust Green Bay still a little bit at the goal line, even without Parsons being there and helping the other guys across the line. But I'm going to go with Devontae for you. Let's go into the next slate of games. What's up, Jeremy and Michael? Let's fly through these as best as we can. Tet's going to play, so that's good to go. I like both running backs for the Panthers. Leggett actually is somebody that I kind of like, and there's Coker and as well. The Panthers, the 2 losses that they've had to the Saints this year are inexcusable. Them being at home in this one, this is the game that, in a sense, I mean, at least for the time being, obviously, is going to decide the South. I think the Panthers being at home gives them an edge. The Bucs are the better team, but the past 2 months, month and a half, at least 6 weeks, they've been slowly falling apart. Mike Evans coming back was huge for him last week, but they couldn't do anything on defense. And I think Panthers, the first time they played the Saints, I think they were coming off a big win against Green Bay, and then they sort of just like relaxed a little bit. And then this one, they just caught Shuck at the wrong time, because he's an ascending quarterback and he's playing better and better each week. Estime, well, when we get to that game, but I know people have questions about Estime, but the rushing game for, I feel like the Saints last week took the Panthers off guard a little bit, and I really think that helped the passing game. And in this game, the Bucs rushing game, another week, Bucky Irving back, throw him in there. Tucker vultured one last week. Semifinals, we're not playing Tucker. We're not playing White. So go ahead. I'm fine with Egbuka. Probably going to be a question about Godwin. Actually, I see one right there. I'm not feeling it too much with him. Not with everybody back, McMillan and everybody else. So I'm just going to go with the biggins in this game, as Al Bundy would say. The Bills and the Browns. The Bills are playing ridiculous defense as of late. Cleveland is an extremely tough place to play. After their big comeback win last week, this is a game that sets up for an upset. And it doesn't seem like it should, but to me, it seems like it could be. Shador is Shador. I'm a fan. I'm not a hater. He's exceeded my expectations already. And even though what he's done hasn't been ridiculously extraordinary, the stats say one thing, but your eyes say another thing. But he does enough. And I like Judkins in this one, obviously, to run all over the Bills. I think if Shador plays smart and hits his guys, accurately, I think that they could upset the Bills in this one. This seems highly unlikely, but this game, along with another game, which actually is the next game, um, I think that we could see a little bit of a letdown here. The Bills had the big comeback win. And as far as the Bills go, who you playing? Cook and Allen. You can't play anybody else. Shakir, eh, maybe. The tight ends are eating into each other. But the next game, Chargers Cowboys, same thing with the Chargers with the big win last week, eliminating the Chiefs. I think Dallas could win this game. Um, Although they were eliminated, I think they come out fighting. It's a tough place to play. And obviously, you go with Lambs and Pickens, though he didn't do much last week. Go with him. Javante, I still would roll with him, depending on other options. For the Chargers, I like Gadsden in this one. Keenan Allen, I think, is going to be fine. Johnston's back. Both of those guys are going to help McConkey. Cowboys defense is terrible, but I think Gadsden is going to make a return. Somebody asked a question. They gave me a list of like 6 different tight ends, and I did something I don't normally do. I ranked them for them, and I had Colby Parkinson at like 5. I was like, he could be 1, but I just got a bad feeling, like I said in the beginning of the show, that he's not going to show up. He's going to disappoint everybody who's trying to play him because of last week's stats. I had Gadsden at number 1. I can't remember all the other guys that were on there, but I just got a feeling about him. I think that Herbert's going to utilize him against the Cowboys defense, who historically and this year is not super great against the tight end. Speaking about not being good against the tight end, the Jets and the Saints. So I like Juwan Johnson quite a bit. I'm not touching anybody for the Jets unless it's Mechie or Hall, and it's been that way. I'm not an A.D. Mitchell hater. I just see him look like he doesn't know how to play football. He runs wrong routes. He drops easy passes. People love him. He's Deshaun Jackson, but with way less skills. He'll have one really huge game, then he'll have absolutely nothing when you're counting on him to do it. For the Saints, Show Shuff Shuck, you go ahead with Olave, you go ahead with Juwan Johnson. And Estime, I don't hate Estime. And now that, Hull is there, people are starting to get warm on him. I'm looking and listening and seeing people talking about Evan Hull. Listen, he stunk for the Giants. It didn't happen with the Giants. We knew it when it happened with the Giants. It's not going to happen with the Saints. Estime is the guy. He'll catch a ton of passes as well. If Sean Payton wasn't so ridiculous with his running backs, Estime would probably still be there. But he gets his guys. He loves his guys. He loves Bidet. He loves Jaleel McLaughlin so much that he just won't just run RJ Harvey. And they let Estime go. And I feel like Estime right now, because Kendre Miller's career, I think, could be over because the coaches, whether it's a new coaching staff or the old one in the past that didn't like him, can't stay healthy, can't ever do what they thought he would do, which would be supplant Kamara. They thought he was going to be the second coming. He's not. So they're pretty much down to Devin Neal and Estime, in my opinion, as the 2 guys that'll sort of be there next year. And Estime, although signed as a practice squad guy, I think if he shows out well these last few games, I think that he could find a new home there because Estime could be, in a sense, that sort of Kamara guy they were looking for in Kendre Miller. So I do like him in this game. It took me a few days this week to really warm on him, go back, watch some stuff of him playing in Denver because it's been a couple of years. I don't think it was last year. I think it was 2 years ago. But I do like him, and I do like him against the Jets. And the Saints are rolling right now. Their defense is playing really good. So I'm fine with him if you have to, but listen, if there's better options, people are asking question, Bucky Irvin or Estime, somebody at, I'm like, no, just play Bucky. The Panthers against the run are traditionally worse than against the pass. Baker's been iffy. You play Bucky. That shouldn't even be a question. I know the Jets are terrible, but you play Bucky. Let's do these 3 games and we'll get into some of these questions. And thank you, K-Space. Smash the like button. That's what I'd like to hear. Smash it. Subscribe, please. We've been doing this 9 years. I say we because it's usually not just me, although this year it's been really just me. I got a partner, Rob, and this whole thing was his idea a decade ago because he would always ask me fantasy questions like, we should just do a YouTube or Facebook or whatever. And we ended up doing it, and we stuck around because we got a lot of people like Michael and Jeremy and Josue who stuck with us over the years, and we've helped a lot of people win. So hopefully we can help you do the same thing. We're just two guys in the basement, and I'm just one guy, and his life's getting busier by the day. Mine as well. Little kids, wives, lives, jobs, all that. We do this for free. We do it for fun. Vikings, Giants, the JJ train. I said it 2 weeks ago. I said, hopefully, and I have a feeling it could have, the concussion for JJ McCarthy knocked some screws into place because he was playing like he had screws loose. I would say the concussion put some things in place. And since then, he's been playing really, really well and going against the Giants. It's a tough defense. It's outside. It's on the road. The record doesn't show that, as you can see on the screen. But the defense really isn't terrible. At one point, I would have said they had the defensive and offensive rookies of the year. I'm not so sure if that's 100% anymore, but maybe they still have the defense. The Justin Jefferson thing. I mean, I don't hate him, and I still don't hate Addison. But listen, if you've gotten this far playing Justin Jefferson, you might as well just keep going with it because you more than likely have no better option. And the Giants, I think, will be able to put up points. The two running backs, it's tough. You really can't play one. Tracy had a better week. And then as soon as you go to play Tracy this week, it's going to be Singletary, and it's going to screw you. But I think Theo is fine. Slayton, those of you that have been watching, you remember back in I think it was week 4, week 5, maybe it wasn't that early, but at least week 8, I was like, I got a feeling Derek Slayton's going to score a touchdown. He didn't, sailed over his head. And then I said, okay, maybe I was a week early. Maybe it'll be this week. I swear he's allergic to scoring touchdowns because whenever the ball is thrown to him in the end zone, I feel like he drops it. He falls down. It's a slightly bad throw off the tip of his fingers. I don't know what it is. You can't use him. But dare I say, no, I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say it, and it will happen. But you know what I'm saying. Wandale, white bread, Wonder Bread, bologna sandwich, Robinson, go ahead. Go ahead. This game, surprising, could be a little higher scoring, I think, than usual. And I think I just saw Jeremy said something. Are we worried the Vikings have nothing to play for? I mean, you could say that about half of the league at this point in time. They're all playing for something. They're playing for their jobs. They're playing for stats. They have contract incentives where they want to hit certain yardage. No jobs are necessarily guaranteed outside of maybe 10 players on the team. They could easily be replaced. JJ McCarthy is one of them, right? He played poorly enough earlier in the year that he's got a lot to prove. He has a lot to play for. Being eliminated, it doesn't destroy everything because who's playing for more? I would argue the Vikings players are probably a little more motivated than the Giants ones because the Giants base, maybe the vet wide receivers, but I'm talking the quarterback and the running backs. They want a job next year. Dart's going to have a job, but he needs these skills. He's the youngest guy. This game is less motivated for him. They're not going away from Dart next year. What does he have to really be motivated for? So neither one has nothing to play for. And I mean, you can look at this list. Look at these teams right here. Every single one of these teams have nothing to play for. But if you have Jamar Chase on your team, are you playing him? Damn straight you're playing him. So we're not worried about that. Chiefs, Titans, it's going to be Gardner Minshew. And because of that reason, I like Travis Kelce quite a bit. We saw what happened with Kelce last week, dropping the pass. He's getting old. His best friend is not playing as he's injured, Mahomes. But there's no Rice. So it's going to be Worthy and Kelce and a bunch of other guys, old school five guys or old school has-beens, Juju's and Thorntons. Forget about them all. I like Kelce quite a bit in this one. The Titans offense has been waking up as of late. The Chiefs could be a little let down on defense, the Titans being at home. You're not playing them, but I do expect the Titans wide receivers to continue to elevate their game, Amendola and DK. Gunnar Helm is taking over slowly the Chigakonkwo tight end position. Pollard had his resurgence of a game last week. Many people are going to be throwing him into the lineup this week. Would not surprise me if Tyjae Spears outplays him this week. We've seen this one before. Same thing with Colby Parkinson, like I said on Thursday. But Kelce is my favorite play in this one. So if you're debating between Kelce and another tight end, I really like him in this one. Bengals, Dolphins. I really wish they went with Zach Wilson. Maybe we'll end up seeing him, but Quinn Ewers, maybe we'll end up seeing Zach Wilson. Maybe we won't. But I wish they did, because I feel like this would be a game where Zach Wilson would look good and either catapult himself to something further on or just fool us all once again. The Dolphins offense is going to look good in this one against the Bengals defense. I would say out of all these teams on this list, if I'm being honest, Jeremy, just before I move on, I would say the Vikings probably are the most uplifted out of all of these teams, except maybe the Titans, because the Titans are starting to play with some confidence. And before we get to these one, let's go to some of these questions. I don't want these people waiting around. So we're looking at Trevor Lawrence or J.J. McCarthy. We're right about to talk about Trevor Lawrence. I think I would go with JJ. I think I'd ride the wave. I don't hate JJ. Surtain is going to take more than likely cover Thomas, which will help Trevor Lawrence. But if Jacoby continues to play, they're going to have to switch Surtain off. But Surtain matches up right where Thomas is going to be for the most part. And I think that that'll do some things to help Jacoby, which will help Trevor. But with Surtain being out there and the Broncos being at home, this is a game I might as well talk about it right now. I would not be surprised if the Jaguars win this one. And I think that they'll win this one because Sean Payton will get too cute. He likes to get cute in his games and do silly things from here and there. Thought the Broncos were going to lose last week, but the Jaguars are like the hottest team in football that nobody realizes right now. So I would not be surprised if the Jags win this one, but I think it'll be a little lower scoring than I think the Giants and Vikings game is going to be. So I'm going to go with JJ. You were thinking Ferguson was going to score, but he still went with Parkinson. Yeah, I mean, if you look back, week 15, I mean, you could pull it up probably in YouTube or something. Ferguson should have had 3 touchdowns. And the box score will show you that he only had 2 targets because one of the throws was the worst throw I've probably seen Matthew Stafford throw all year long. And the other 2, one was a drop and one was just slightly underthrown. And then the next 2 plays on 2 of those 3 was a touchdown to Parkinson. So it's like he always looked for Ferguson first over these past couple weeks. And I just was like, well, he's going to catch one. And he caught the one, and Parkinson didn't do too much. So Puka came through with a big game, so that's good for you. Jeremy, pick 2, DK, Addison, Godwin, Pearsall. You're thinking DK and Addison. Worried if I'm starting JJ over Lawrence. I have a flex spot, Woody or Chubb, depending on who plays. Yeah, I'm going DK and Addison as well. Godwin is sort of talked about with McMillan back last week, scored last week, sort of taking time off here and there in between plays. It was him and Evans sort of splitting. Seemed like whenever Evans was on the field, he was getting a target. So you obviously play him. But I just think because of that, because there's Agbuka, because there's McMillan, because they'll use the ground game as much as possible because it's a little bit easier to run against the Panthers. Godwin's a sit for me out of these guys, and you cannot trust Pearsall. He didn't practice all week. It's a Monday night game. San Francisco tells you nothing but lies. If they tell you anything, most of the time, don't believe them. If they do tell you something. Didn't practice all week. One day, Kyle Shanahan says, he'll be just fine. The next day says, we're a little bit worried. And then continues to not practice Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. Now it's a Monday game. We'll see what happens today. Their practice report should be out soon. But again, I'm not even going to bother taking that chance. I'm definitely playing DK, and I'm going to play Addison. I think that Giants-Vikings game will be a pretty good one. And then you have a flex spot. Woody or Chubb. If it's me and I'm coaching the Texans, I'm saying we're going against Vegas. Our defense should be able to handle it. Chubb is coming back. Jordan Jawar looked okay last week. We are in the playoff push. I am not rushing Woody. So I took Woody out of the lineup myself. I put Cortland Sutton in the flex over him. And that could be switched before tomorrow with Kelsey, because Trey McBride's my tight end. So I'm back and forth now between Cortland and Kelsey and Michael Kelsey. Right now it's Cortland, but it's not Woody. I took Woody out because they're playing Vegas. It's an easy game. Chubb's back. Jordan Jawar looked fine last week. They should be able to win with the defense alone. There's no reason to push Woody. I would take Woody out of my lineup anywhere I could, if at all possible. I'm playing DK and Addison, and I'd probably just roll with Chubb because Chubb's going to be back, and get yourself a little running back. They get close, you know it's going to him. Will he be super successful? I don't know, but I'd at least throw him in, and then maybe we think about Pearsall, but he'd have to practice in full today, or else I'd just roll with Chubb. All right, here we go here. Hampton against Dallas or Swift tonight? It's a great question because I like Swift tonight. I like him to get around out to the outside, check down type of things against the Green Bay defense, who really was able to stop that type of running back for the first time that I can remember in my lifetime because of Parsons. I mean, they could do it maybe with the Reggie White era, but a different type of player. But there was a Super Bowl team. Swift, I'm worried about. I'd probably go Hampton, though. I'd probably go Hampton, to be honest, because I know if they get close, it's Monungai. And whereas I know if they get close against Dallas, it's Hampton, but they'll also use Hampton on the ground and through the air between the 20s. So I'd probably go Hampton. I also think it could be a little bit of a higher scoring game. So I'd probably lean Hampton. Let's go on to these Falcons, Cardinals. Someone, I should have known this, but I've been so busy with everything. But is Drake London back? I don't even know. And that's bad on me. But I'm going to look rather than ask. But if you know, you can tell me. Questionable. That's the last I knew. Expected to play. Okay. Like him. No problem with him. If you bench Kyle Pitts last week, putting him in this week, thinking you're going to chase last week's stats, I'd advise against it. But last week does one thing, and that sort of helps Kirk Cousins realize, hey, I do have another option other than just throwing to London, because throwing to Mooney doesn't work very well. And the other guys, forget about them. They'd be better off if they use Bijan more than they do, but you can't bench Bijan, but Algier is going to vulture. For the Cardinals, the one player I do not trust is Marvin Harrison. I know he's saying he's good enough to go. They're saying he's good enough to go. But listen, when was the last time that he was good enough to go? He came into the game and then he was out for a couple more weeks. As bad as the Falcons defense is, even AJ Terrell has been terrible. I'm not playing Marvin Harrison. I'm in a league, semifinals. I have Michael Wilson. I have Trey McBride. I'm playing against Brissett. I also have Marvin Harrison. I could throw three guys out there in the same team and just really protect against Brissett, who's been ridiculously amazing, top five quarterback for the past however many weeks, it seems. He's always doing. He did it last week against a really solid defense. He just been getting it done. Sometimes you have to just give credit where credit's due. I thought it would last a week or two and he'd fall off a cliff, but he hasn't. He's got playmakers around him, and he's doing his thing. But I can't do it. And I'm not against having three on the team if I feel like the quarterback's just going to be able to throw, especially if I'm playing against that quarterback. But I'm not playing Marvin Harrison. And I don't think if I owned him on a team without Trey McBride and without Michael Wilson that I would feel safe playing him, even in this matchup where he could do some things. Very nervous about a re-injury. It's very similar to the Pearsall situation, right? Pearsall was out, came back, got hurt again. Now look at what's going on with Pearsall. Same exact sort of thing. I'm staying away from it, but the other guys, go ahead and play them, obviously. Skipping the Jags Broncos. Well, I'll go over them real quick. The Surtain thing, because we don't know who he's going to be on, I think it'll be mostly Thomas, but I think because Myers has been better and Lawrence, aside from really early last week, he had been targeting him more when both of them were on the field. You hear the chaos upstairs. Pardon them. Little boys. The oldest will be 8 in 2 weeks, and 5 and 2. And they're making and eating cookies. So use your imagination. But Brian Thomas last week, early on, did some things, but it's been the Jacoby show since he came to town. Even when he knew 30% of the playbook, he was incredible. And Lawrence is chucking him the ball. If I'm Denver and I am planning to have Surtain be on Thomas, before too long, I'm switching that off. So it's very tough. Can you sit either one? Probably not, but it's going to be tough. I mean, Packers threw decently against them last week, but really was a big run by Jacobs and a couple other things that built them that lead. And then once Denver came back, once Parsons went out, I mean, they pretty much shut Green Bay's offense down. So you worry a little bit. I do think the Jaguars win. I think it's a little bit lower scoring, but guys like Cortland Sutton is the only one I really trust. Pat Bryant's going to be playing. Franklin had his week last week. We've seen Franklin come and go. He's the ebb and flow. But with Pat Bryant playing, that's going to take a little bit off of Troy Franklin's plate. So I don't trust either one. I trust Cortland more than any of them. In the RJ Harvey situation, we're going to see Jaleel McLaughlin. We're going to see Tyler Bidet. It's going to be a headache. Steelers, Lions, play your DK. You can't play any of their tight ends, although I wish they had just one because the one would be a great play. You play Warren. And for the Lions, I mean, you don't even have to talk about it. You play the top 4 guys. It is what it is. Raiders, Texans. I think the Texans just beat them up on defense. Unless you're in a situation like Jeremy was a few minutes ago, where your options are a guy like Godwin, who's one of 5 viable receivers on the team, or Pearsall, who can't stay healthy. Other than that, I don't see a reason to play Nick Chubb. But Chubb is a good play in this one. Couple weeks off. He's back. They said questionable, but he's going to play. I think he's a better play in this one than Woody Marks because they should be able to handle them easily in this game. The defense should be able to take care of the Raiders where they can just run Chubb, run Jawar, and do that. The one thing, and I hope, but I'm saying it with my head as well, the Texans, Nico Collins, I like Higgins in this one, but Nico Collins and Higgins, and even Schultz a little bit, could disappoint just because if they stop the Raiders, which I feel like they could, but you have to run Genty out there and you have to run Bowers, but it's going to be tough because look what Arizona was able to do last week. You can score on the Texans, but they'll score a ton of defensive points. But the wide receivers for the Texans, if they get a big lead, they're just going to churn it away. So even your CJ Stroud, who had a nice game, you might want to look elsewhere. We always say they have to gain the big lead. Will they get it early so that they could play that slow ball after? With Woody Marks being out, that helps. But if Chubb is healthy enough and he busts one and Jawar busts one, well, guess what? Now we're up 2 touchdowns. Now we can play slow ball and just sort of control this game. So I worry a bit about the Texans passing game just because of lack of necessity, I guess you could say. All right, before we get to these 2 night games, let's get to these here. K-Space, you stuck around long enough. You smashed that like button. Thank you for doing that. I'm so glad you did that. Full PPR. Pick 1 wide receiver, 1 flex. Aaron Jones, Godwin's, Reed, and Shakir. I like Reed a lot in this one. And I know it's going to come down to, and I think he's going to play last I saw, Watson. Let me just double check on you. But I like him. I like him even if Watson goes. Just because we've seen this sort of thing with Watson before. And I had been waiting and not anxiously because I don't want it to happen. I'm a Green Bay Packers fan, but I've been waiting for this Christian Watson injury bug to occur. I think he's going to play, but I worry about a re-injury. I think Reed, with his first game back last week, was involved enough. I like him. I would certainly play him over Godwin. So then it comes down to the other ones. Shakir, Aaron Jones. I don't hate Shakir at all. It is a lot easier to throw against Cleveland than it is to run against them. He's really the only wide receiver that I feel like Buffalo should ever really use. The Shavers thing, people were high on him after he caught like 2 passes one week. Like, oh, I got to get Tyler Shavers. No. And Coleman, who's on the team, he's not on the team. Gabe Davis, no, none of these guys. Shakir is really the one to use. And because I do think the Browns offense is going to be able to do a couple things, I think that keeps him involved. However, I do think the Vikings and Giants game is going to be high scoring, but I just can't roll with Aaron Jones, man. And I've been saying it for weeks. I'm worried about him, and every single time he's on the field, Jordan Mason can't capitalize on anything. However, he has outscored and outplayed the past few weeks. I'm going to go with Reed and Shakir in this one, K-Space. Reed and Shakir. So it's different from yours, but your gut says Godwin and Reed. You go with your gut, my man. It's the best thing for you. Trust me. I'm going with Reed and Shakir. I would play Shakir over Godwin because he's the only one in town, and I do think the Browns offense does some things. Godwin is one of 5 guys there. And I just feel like the other guys bring a little bit more to the table on that team, the other 3-4 wide receivers. I'm talking about Tez, McMillan, Evans, and Egbuka, all ahead of him, in my opinion. Last one, we'll do these last 2 games. At this point, it's hard to trust Jefferson, but another great matchup for him. I have to play him over Waddle, right? With Quinn Ewers as your quarterback, I don't think he's terrible. The problem is playing against Cincy. Joe Burrow's head just doesn't seem to be in the right place, does it? Last week was probably the worst I'd ever seen him. And it came 4 or 5 days after him talking about, well, I don't know if I want to play for this team for the rest of my life. I don't know if I'll play with them even next year. And all these cryptic, but not really cryptic comments about being disappointed in the Bengals and the organization and the team and everything else. And this coming back 2 weeks after coming back from a big injury, big wins, and then they lose one, and next thing you know, his mind is just like not focused on being the best quarterback for this team. And then he just looked terrible last week. And now you're going into Miami, and where it's tough for teams for whatever reason, the Miami defense plays better at home. Will Cincinnati be able to do enough for them to ask Quinn Ewers to really be chucking the ball or getting it to Waddle? Now, if they give him short passes, does he not got enough to get it through? I would trust Jefferson. I would put Jefferson over Waddle. In a perfect world, I would hope I could play both and maybe get whoever else you had in there. It's hard to trust them, but it's going to happen one of these weeks. It's going to be Jefferson, and all you're going to see in the Facebook chats or on the radio or on the ESPN, anybody talking about fantasy is going to be like, of course, I put Jefferson on my bench and he goes off. We've seen this game. So I would roll Jefferson out there. JJ McCarthy's rolling, and it is not lost on either of them that Jefferson has not been a part of it now for these past 2 big weeks. Third time's a charm. Patriots, Ravens. This one's a weird one. Patriots coming off that tough loss. Ravens still alive, but digging their hole deeper and deeper. But all things considered, I mean, they're relatively healthy. The defense is healthy. The offense is healthy. They're not dead yet. This is another one of those games where I think the Ravens could sneak one out type of thing. 2 weeks ago, before the Ravens lost to the Bengals, right? Everybody had the Ravens in the Super Bowl. They were going to go on this big win streak, and then they lost, and then they lost again. And now here they sit, second place, 500 team. Patriots came off that loss last week. They could come a little flat into this one. We'll see how Vrabel gets them ready to go. I thought Diggs would be a little better last week. I think that he's a fine play in this one. Travion had a couple big runs. Again, Travion has the big runs, and that's what we play fantasy for, right? Didn't do much otherwise, but had those couple big ones. So you continue to roll with him, obviously, but the worst case scenario would be Stevenson. But I'm playing Diggs. I think Booty's good enough to go in this one. For the Ravens, I don't know. The defense is tough. Lamar, what's he going to do? Well, who are you playing? Derrick Henry. I'm not touching the tight ends in this one. Flowers. Bateman died, so we don't even have to worry about him anymore. 49ers, Colts, CMC, Jennings. Don't trust Pearsall at all, Kittle. At home, the Colts. Let's see how Rivers does. I still like Pittman in this one. Pierce died last week, like I thought would happen. He's the downfield guy. Rivers doesn't throw downfield. I'm fine with Tyler Warren in this one as well. If you're shying away from him, I advise against it. And obviously Jonathan Taylor. Let's get in these final questions because I got a feeling they need my help upstairs. And I'm sorry about that, but that's life. And it's Christmas. Merry Christmas to you all. Thoughts on the Bears? Olamide Zaccheaus. Yeah, we talked about him when we were going over the game. He joined us a little late. That's okay. Listen, Caleb loves him. He loved him early on. He was splashing before Burden got his NFL feet underneath him, is what I said, before he was ready to sort of take over this wide receiver 2 role that he's been playing in, at least wide receiver 3. Zaccheaus was that dude. So I think that depending on your options, he's worth a shot today because Caleb likes throwing to him, and he has produced every single time. Does it make me throw up in my mouth to say that? Yes. But he's definitely worthy of it, and I'm worried about him today against my Packers. You're worried about the Monday night game. Opponent has Henry and Henderson. You'll have none. Well, then you root for Stevenson and Lamar. right? Lamar runs a couple balls in. Maybe he's just like, listen, first couple weeks it was okay when I wasn't really running and I was protecting myself, but these last couple ones, of course, we've lost, and maybe I gotta put a little bit on my back. And so we root for Lamar, we root for Stevenson for you, Jeremy. Chiefs or Vikings defense? It's a tough one. It's a tough one. Tennessee has been playing better on offense. Are the Chiefs going to be a little depressed, for lack of a better term, after being eliminated, or does Andy Reid get them hyped up? Vikings, I feel like that game will have some scoring. I think the Chiefs defense is better than the Vikings just in a vacuum. So I'll go with the Chiefs. As to me over Woody and Chubb, I think I would do that. I'd be okay with that, Jeremy. Yes, I would. Because I'm not playing Woody. Because I don't think Houston should be playing him. I feel like he is the key for their success in the playoffs. And I feel like today or tomorrow's matchup against Vegas, they can win without him. So give him a week to get healthy. He might be active. You might use him a little bit, but might be a little bit too much. I think Chubb coming back. Jawar looked fine last week. Use them. Rest Woody. I would play Estime. I'm fine with that. Excuse me. Alive and hanging on. That's it. 2 running backs, a wide receiver, and a flex. Last I heard, Jacob's going to play. He worries me a little bit as well. But he's the toughest guy in the league. 2 running backs. Well, I mean, you only gave me 2 running backs. Oh, Chase Brown. I read it as Chase and then Brown. Okay. I'm going to go with Chase Brown and Rico and just make it easy. And then a wide receiver in the flex. I'm definitely going to play London if he plays. And Sutton. I want to say Diggs, but Sutton is what's calling me. So I'm going Rico, Chase Brown, London, and Sutton. You're saying Vidal, you also have. I feel a little bit more of a Hampton week this week. I think I have more decisions this week than I did last week. It can be frustrating for who? Me? No. For you? Sure. It's always frustrating. That's why we love this game. We love to hate it. I hear my kids calling me. Daddy! Noah! Come upstairs. I'll be there in a minute. Okay. Lawrence had such a monster game. Had. Right? We can't, if anything, when we look at what happened last week, we have to expect the opposite. Maybe not an exact mirror opposite, but if last week was such a big game, based on the trajectory, the season long, the things that we've seen, we could expect a regression. And that's what I expect. That's why I said go with JJ. Also, I have Jordan for the Texans. I got a mess to fix. A lot of options, but probably way too many. I mean, I like what I said to begin with your team, Tim. Scroll back up to it just so you can see. I got no problem with Rico this week. I know that Chuba's sort of been taking it, but they're really 50-50. And I like both this week. So I'm going to go with Rico, Chase, London, and Sutton. I'm going to stick with that. If I had to even flirt with any of your other options, maybe Jordan. But let's see what happens with Woody. If they do, in fact, hold Woody out, maybe I throw him in that flex spot over Sutton. Okay. I'm not sure what that was too, but it doesn't matter. Let's on to the next one. Robert Ryan, what's up, dude? Thanks for joining. Please like and subscribe to YouTube. 9 to this lives are getting busier by the day. I like to do it though. I like to help when I can, if I can. So like, subscribe, and take the rest of the ride with us, whether it stops after next year or continues. Who to start? Half point. Brees, Coker, Debo, or I like Gadsden a lot this week. I really do. I don't know if I could sit Brees Hall, though. I think I would go with Brees. The Coker situation I kind of like, but the moment we play Coker, it's Leggett. And Tech's good to go. I'm going to go with Brees Hall. Gadsden would be a bit of more of a Hail Mary, but they have other options. So Brees Hall is the option. So I'm going Brees Hall. Estime or Wilson, if Jacob sits. God, sorry. Estime. I'd go Estime. Because they'll also use Chris. If Woody plays full PPR, not Woody. No. Jaden Higgins would be the answer. I like the matchup a lot, but I just don't think that they'll have to wind up throwing much against Houston. I like Egbuka, but he's definitely second at best in the pecking order, if not third. He's going to have another big game. Will it be this one? I don't know. So then it gets tough. Full PPR, Dowdle's not going to catch a ton of passes. I don't think it's going to be Woody. I think I'd go with Buka here with the full PPR. Dowdle, I like the most out of all these guys. Like I said before, I know Chuba's playing, but they've been sort of splitting. Chuba's sort of been outplaying them. Dowdle's been sort of regressing a little bit. Egbuka's been cold for 2 months. But I think I'm going to go with Egbuka just because of volume purposes. And if he could get you 5 catches for 50 yards and maybe get a touchdown, I think that exceeds what you need out of him with about 16 points. Swift or Mike Evans this week at flex. Also, would I sit ETN or Henderson for Swift? The Henderson one is the one that worries me because any given week it could be Stevenson, like I had mentioned. ETN, I've been really hot on him the past couple weeks. I've been calling it. I might play Swift over ETN, and I think I would play Evans over Swift. So I would do that. Evans and Swift, playing both. Saints or Bills D. I think I'd play Saints D. Saints defense, I've talked about it the past few weeks. They, much like Miami's defense until last week, really, but Miami's defense was because of their offense, because Tua can't win in freezing temperature. But Miami's defense had been playing really well. And the Saints defense has been playing really well and continued to do so last week. Now they got a game against a team with really no offense. Although I do like Brees Hall, and I did recommend Brees Hall. You got to wait. No, I'll be up in a minute. Although I do like Brees Hall because he's their only offensive option. I think I would go with the Saints to do some things. Cook looked fine last week. We'll see. But the Saints being at home, I like them. I think Cleveland is going to do some things in offense. I kind of put the Bills on upset alert after their big come-behind win last week. A little bring back down to earth type of thing. Will their defense be able to do some things to trick Shedeur and get you some fantasy points? Of course. But I know that also that their defense plays much better at home than they play on the road. So I'm going to go with the Saints slightly over the Bills because I think that they cause more turnovers than the Bills and they give up less points. Drop Woody over Chubb because they want to save him. I'm not sure what you mean. Drop? I'm not dropping Woody at all. I'm not dropping Woody at all. They want to save him. They might want to save him for next week, Jeremy. Full PPR. Do I go with RJ Harvey or Swift? Listen, I would go with Swift. I really would over Harvey because I just have a feeling that, Sean Payton's going to do some ridiculous things with his running backs. He always does. just when we think it should be Harvey and nobody else because of what he wound up doing in that second half. Once Parsons went out, Harvey looked great. Well, we saw it a few weeks ago, Harvey with his 2 or 3 touchdown game, whatever it was. And then the next week, it was like, oh, well, I got to play Jaleel McLaughlin and all these other guys. So Peyton gets really weird. There's running backs, and he's going against a tough defense. I would play Swift because I think he'll catch a bunch of balls today. I could also bench Jameson Williams. Don't do that. Zay Flowers or Wandale to open up my flex spot and play both. Well, I would play Swift today and then worry about that tomorrow. I'd worry about that tomorrow. I'm not benching Williams. Zay, I might want to keep in because I kind of get a feeling that Baltimore is going to compete and maybe even win that game tomorrow. And Wandale, white bread, bologna sandwich, Robinson, he does nothing but get you points. So as of right now, I just play Swift today, see how he does, and make an adjustment if you need to tomorrow. Brock Purdy or Caleb Williams and DJ Moore, T. Higgins. I think I would go with Purdy. I don't know. I don't dislike Caleb Williams today at all. Playing at home, I'm a Green Bay Packers fan, and I saw instantly in the 10 minutes left or so of that third quarter when Parsons went down, how it brought the defense down. It made everybody susceptible to big plays, and Bo Nix capitalized on it. Three straight drives, 3 straight touchdowns. Denver never looked back. I think they fixed some things. They adjust some things. The Bears are still the Packers' pets. I'm nervous about this one. The Bears win this one. They get a commanding lead in the division. But without him having all of his weapons and Purdy really only being down, although I like Zacchaeus to do some ridiculous things to hurt the Packers today, Purdy only really going to be down Pearsall, and he's got CMC back there. Caleb will throw to Swift to sort of negate that. I kind of like Purdy just a little bit more playing indoors, and you get the Monday night magic as well going against the Colts. So I'm going to go with Brock Purdy and DJ Moore, T. Higgins. On the flip side, if this is the same league, this makes it even a little bit better for me. I think I would go with DJ Moore. I'd go with Moore over Higgins that way because we benched Caleb. At least we get a little bit of that. If DJ Moore does do some things, he's going to be the top option. They will give up some big plays. I would go with him over T. Just in the Burrow thing, he's kind of playing. His head's not right. His head's not right. And going down to Miami, it's a tough place to play. Their defense always plays better there. So we'll see. And they also might not even need to throw the ball too much because we'll see what Quinn Ewers does. How do I feel about Swift or Egbuka in the flex? You're starting London over Egbuka. I think I would use Swift. Just because of what we've seen out of Egbuka over these past couple months. And we know that when Evans is in the game, Baker's looking to Evans. And you do have McMillan and you do have Tez Johnson still. I think is actually even going to play this week. And you do have Godwin, which a couple people here have commented and they like him. So although I like Egbuka, I think I would go Swift because I'm going to get some air points. I'm going to get some ground points, and there's a little bit less competition around him of guys that are going to try and take those points away. Whereas Egbuka is going to be battling with other people out there. And the Panthers defense is not a pushover defense as well. Whatever you like, I like it too, Tim. I also have Sutton on my bench. I probably would. I'd at least be in the same boat as you and considering that. My only thing with that is Flowers is going to pop one of these. And if they sort of let Lamar run the ball a little bit more. I feel like that's going to open up some of his passes. If Lamar feels a little more confident in his ability to run the ball more, because I feel like they need a win. They need this big win. And I think you're getting the Sunday night play with Flowers as well. So that's what gives me pause a little bit. I think I would sit Sutton still and just stick with Flowers because I feel like things are going to open up against the Patriots on Sunday night with Flowers. So I think as of right now, I'd be playing Flowers because I could see a big play coming. I get the Sunday night magic, just in case my opponents maybe are done when the day games are over. And that's that Denver Jacksonville game worries me just a little bit on the offensive side for both teams. And that's kind of why I said myself earlier, I'm not sure, Logan, if you were with us, that I took Woody Marks out of my flex position in one league that I'm still in because I don't think they should play him. And I don't think if they do play him, he's going to play much because it's against Vegas. I said I put Courtland Sutton in, but I'm almost at the point, I'm like 49% there of taking Sutton out and putting Kelsey into my flex. So if I'm maybe putting Kelsey in my flex over Sutton, I think that I would continue to keep Flowers in over Sutton as well. Thanks for all this. Hope you, Rob, Marty, have a good holiday along with everyone else. You too, Jeremy. And thank you all for joining us or joining me. Answers by guess. I got to drink some water because I got a scratchy as F throat. My kids are screaming for me upstairs. My wife probably needs me. Best of luck today. Enjoy the games. If you are watching us on YouTube, please like and subscribe. It means a lot. And if you are also on Facebook, like the old people, and you have not joined the Answers by Guest Answers by Guest group page, do it. And that way you could be a part of us on YouTube and on Facebook. We appreciate it. This is 1 week away now from the end of season 9 of Answers by Guest. Next year will be season 10, might be the end of the road. We'll see how things go. But I'm glad that you're here with us now. Best of luck. Let's win some championships. And let's get there starting this week. Have a good day.